Hello everyone and welcome to RAZZLE. This is Alan here with the second episode of ranking everything, ranking the episodes, ranking the characters. This week we will be looking at The Harvest, Season 1, Episode 2. And to do that, I have a guest with me, co-creator of RAZZLE, co-host of RAZZLEcast, co-everything RAZZLE, my brother as well, Ryan Havens. Why don't you go ahead and say hi to the people?
Hello everybody that's watching. Just a forewarning. Going into this, I'm not a fan of the show. It's not that I dislike it. I just don't. I'm indifferent to it. So this is going to be an interesting perspective. I have the nostalgia piece though, because I watched it when I was a kid. I feel like your fans are going to hate me because I'm going to sound ignorant to stuff and probably have opinions that don't match what some people feel about some things. But
well, I think that is a perspective that I wanted. You literally will just have what we've seen, and that's what you're going off of.
And like stuff I remembered from watching as a kid. I mean, I don't have like photographic memory. I don't remember like exactly what happened in episode 3 of season 6 like you would. I don't even know if there's 6 seasons.
Let's go ahead and jump into the rules then. For me, I'm going to be ranking every episode in the series and placing it in tiers. And I'm not going to be spoiling anything. And 2-part episodes will be ranked individually. Pretty self-explanatory there. That's for episodes. For characters, I'm going to rank every character that appears in at least 2 episodes, and I also place them in a tier. And characters are ranked based on the appearance to that point in the series, so I won't be taking into account any future development. For you guys, the comment section will contain spoilers, so use your discretion, use your better judgment. The comment section is for discussion, not hate, so, if you have a different opinion than somebody else, that's awesome. But, let's be nice, let's be friendly in the comment section. I think we're ready to jump right into the episode. Ryan, are you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
This will be the first time that I'm watching an episode with you since, we were, 6 or 7 years old.
It's so funny how this is very 90s.
Oh, the whole
90s,
show is...
right?
Yes, 1997 is when this episode came out.
Vampires are, not commonly known.
No, the world does not know about vampires, for the most part. These characters, Willow and Xander, only just found out about them. But
Is this them meeting Buffy for the first time?
No. This is the second episode, so they've met her.
I thought this was a flashback. I don't know why I thought this was a flashback.
No.
Yeah, this is where most of the nostalgia will come, is from the theme song and stuff.
Yeah.
Is it like season 1 that's mostly is it take on more of a horror angle in the first season?
They do. So they try to do a lot of horror tropes, but in high school. So this one is not as much like that, but they a lot of times try to take high school problems and turn them into literal monsters by using horror tropes. This episode less than that, because this is kind of a 2-parter with the first episode. Well, she's been a Slayer for a while. You might not know that.
How long?
It's unclear, but the movie is semi-canon. So the movie that actually takes place before, when she was living in LA. This is their friend Jesse. He, I guess, did not make it out with Willow and Xander and Buffy. Which is weird that they're not even asking about it, because they saw him. He was with them.
Cool with him. Yeah, we got the main characters. This guy wasn't in the theme song, so this is the main villain of the first. What's his name?
The Master
or something. The Master. I like the way he holds his hands. It's so cliche.
He's super campy.
I forgot that vampires have these weird not overlay. They're just these prosthetic faces.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a decision that Joss Whedon made because he didn't want Buffy to look like she was just killing regular high schoolers before.
So was it an early decision for the vampires to always look like this? But then they were like, we want the hot ones to look kind of hot still until they go for the kill?
No, not quite. The reason that he made it is because he wanted you to never really know who was a vampire. Except the Master can't switch. He's just too old.
How do you kill them?
Too old, he's over that shit.
Oh, now they're talking about Jesse.
That's not true.
Is it because she hurt her elbow? They're like, nah, we're just gonna ditch him. I go heal.
We still have quite a bit of pilot speak where they have to explain everything to the audience.
Yeah, but that's kind of okay. It's a,
well, the
90s TV show trying to get some more seasons and stuff,
Yeah.
That shot.
I can't remember the last time that happened.
1843.
She was shamed.
Oh, this guy's haircut.
Luke.
She mustn't be.
I would never
You even know the grunts' names.
I gotta rank all the characters. I gotta know them all.
Is he included?
every character that appears in at least 2 episodes.
How are you gonna rank this guy?
Who? Luke?
The guy that's gonna get eaten. Oh, we got the internet stuff. I want to say my first controversial opinion,
Nothing here. This is useless.
and it's probably more based on just not having enough experience with the show. And I'm saying this now also, so it's out of the way. I don't like Willow very much. I know, like, she's like the fan favorite or whatever.
She's ranked
I just think
currently
she's so
as best.
annoying.
She's ranked currently as the best character after 1 episode, but I take your opinions
That's just
into
me.
it as well.
I know everyone's gonna hate all the Buffy fans that watch this are gonna hate me for it.
But I do want to help. I need.
She just has like this, like, I don't know, it's just the way she talks. It just kind of makes me go. It's just like, ah.
This harvest effect. I want you to go on the net.
I always think it's hilarious when people say, "I want you to go on the net."
Go on the net.
Special effects aren't always there in 1997 for a TV show that was a mid-season replacement.
I think
This is
to
Principal
judge
Flutie?
on I think to judge on a '90s show is like
No.
special effects is kind of unfair. Like judging a video game from the '90s on their
Graphics
side.
and stuff.
Nobody leaves campus while school's in session.
Not unreasonable, but I don't think you can lock students in like that.
No,
Maybe
I
you
think,
can.
like-
I don't think so. That's a fire hazard.
I don't know if it's like him locking. Oh, I know he did literally put a lock.
Okay, so I know you said you can't judge special effects.
If they're feeding into the camp, and it's okay. I don't mean this as an insult. I actually mean this as a compliment. Watch it so far, like kind of like a B horror movie, and I don't mean that in a bad way, because those movies can be fun. It's just lines like that I'm just like, shut up. I'm not gonna go on for too long about this, or else no one's gonna watch this.
Everyone's gonna
Buffy
be
fans are gonna shut it off.
Everyone's gonna be
immediately.
like, never have this guy on again.
I think that's just a problem with me and Joss Whedon just in general, is just how overly quippy he is sometimes. And it's a style that a lot of people love and some people don't love, and I'm just kind of in the camp of people that don't love it. I'm not saying he's a bad writer. I think he's a good writer. I'm not saying, I think what I'm trying to say is more like, it's not that the character's coming across clever, it's like inhumanly quirky.
He's still got that flashy jacket.
Why not?
They really don't like me.
Here comes the flirting. He's so handsome.
I thought it was gonna be a little sooner.
So what does she know about him to this point? He's just some mysterious hot guy?
Yeah, he
that
showed
hangs
up,
around
gave her a
cemeteries?
cross, and said the harvest is coming.
Can you at least tell me your name?
Angel.
Okay,
Oh,
now we know he's
yeah.
Angel.
Do you know what it's like to have a friend?
That lonely stare.
I wasn't supposed to be a stumper.
Look into his eyes and just feel so alone.
Why does he care what happens to her? Does he know anything? You can't really spoil anything.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to talk about, but I think that
It's just
part of
kinda
it is
like, I don't
just
know
they're
why he
both
cares.
attractive-looking people, and I think that, like, for the sake of a high schooler, like, you see an attractive-looking guy, he seems to understand the
Wait, how old is she?
loneliness of 15 years old. Yes, just deal with it. Yeah, just deal with it.
And it's right to assume that he is not 15 years
He is
old
not
based on
15.
how he looks.
No, he's not 15 years old.
And that's no spoilers, and you just look at him.
Xander, what are you doing here?
Something stupid.
What the hell was that? Did he just walk past Angel? Angel and just let this guy go. And find him attractive. It's kind of silly, but not in a bad way, Yeah. That's just what what it is. I'm happy that Xander came along because I don't think Buffy alone is interesting enough. I'm just kidding. No, I actually do like that they kind of brought him along. It adds kind of a level of stakes and gives his character a little bit more.
Stakes.
I didn't mean that. That's the first accidental pun, I'm sure, of this series or whatever.
Friday night, no cover.
It's funny, they do not
Friday
look
night,
15.
no cover. Charisma Carpenter is much older, who plays Cordelia, but that woman there is she's I think like 16 years old. Charisma Carpenter is
The fake
in her
typing.
20s.
It's very silly.
Yeah.
She's-
I'm gonna kill you, I swear.
I know you didn't see the last episode, but that didn't happen. Oh yeah, look at
is
this stoner dude.
Is this some guy that has to be ranked?
No, he's only in those one episode. Spoilers.
Sam.
She's not a psycho. You don't even know her.
Who gave you permission to exist? Do I horn in on your private decisions?
I like Cordelia a lot because she's just a villain.
She comes across like a generic bully, like school
Yeah.
bully. That makes a perfect villain to you. I'm just kidding.
She's the mean girl.
I was just teasing. It definitely fits. Again, like it's like going for the high school tropes. A lot of people think when people talk about tropes that it's a bad thing. Tropes are not a bad thing.
Oh, look, Jesse. Oh, he's good.
What the hell is he doing there?
He's just on the floor.
Are they using him as bait or?
I think
You
they
can't-
said they were
we'll
going to use
find
it.
out.
I think they said they were going to use him as bait. I think that's what they
Okay,
said
I
their
just
plan was.
misheard.
Of course, I don't know why you would lay down, you know.
He was tired. He wasn't taking that.
Jeez, that's scary.
It's a good shot though. Eyes effect there.
Ooh, yeah.
A little campy, but you know.
I don't think vampires
they're not
ever have
moving.
light up eyes at any other point in the series, so...
You can die.
So you said about him not being in the credits, Joss Whedon had originally wanted to put that character in the credits, but due to budget, they couldn't do it.
They didn't have the budget to put his name in the credits. I guess you have to.
It's not just a name, you have to put all the character, you have to put the character in. I also think you have to pay them more to put them in the credits. I think. There's probably contract things with that.
Vampires have like super strength, don't they?
Yeah, but so does she.
Oh, I'm not saying why she couldn't. I'm just.
Yes,
I'm just
they do.
wondering if they're safe right now or if they have a chance to knock down the door.
Certainly a bigger horror aesthetic look than some of the later episodes. I don't know, it feels like a B zombie movie.
They're safe at this point.
This is not Twilight, so vampires can't go out.
I thought she was stronger.
Yeah, she is. It's very
Only when the-
inconsistent. Sometimes you'll see Buffy get held back by like regular people.
Kind of reminds me of the Grinch, like Jim Carrey's The Grinch. Why didn't he greet her?
He can't leave. He's trapped.
He can't leave this room.
He can't. No, he's trapped down here. You missed. He had a force field thing.
You've got something in your eye.
He so reminds me of Jim Carrey's The Grinch, and
Yeah.
not in a bad way.
They-
Oh yeah, if he was like
Did you find anything of interest?
dull, it would be painful. I like that he's very silly.
Great.
Great. Giles' excitement about stuff that happens here is always kind of fun.
My body is your instrument.
Darla looks happy as hell.
Was he dead? Worse.
This was one of their best friends. The reaction's not quite there.
Well, the reactions about some things really
I mean, he's...
are kind of odd. Like when they were trapped, Xander was like, "What do we do?" And then like they were trapped in the room about nearing death. He just found out about vampires yesterday or the day before. He's like, "What do we do?" And then his best friend's just like, "Die." Which again, like I'm like nitpicking and criticizing whatever, and I'm not trying to too much because like I think it's
60 years
silly. It's not in a bad way. Like
we do a lot of
it's like-
nitpicking. Zach and I were nitpicking too, and we love the show, so...
Okay, cool. That's in the title sequence. And Luke is the
hardest.
strongest one he could get his hands on.
Luke's pretty strong.
If you don't go out, it'll be the end of the world.
So, this might seem weird to you, but Buffy was kicked out of her last school for burning down the gym. So it does kind of track.
Like, oh, she's gonna have to sneak out. That's very silly. I like it. It'll slide out like full of little jars of holy water and crosses. What would Joyce say if she saw that? She actually stumbled upon that.
She left it out.
She has the stake. That stake was sharp too. She better be careful not to cut herself or give herself
A splinter or something.
Splinters or something. Ouch.
Ugh.
Her mom was like, "Oh yeah, you're not leaving." Okay. 5 minutes later, just literally go into her secret compartment and jump out the window.
Hey, you know what's funny? Remember earlier when Cordelia said the bronze no cover? Here they are paying cover.
You had that one prepared.
Yeah, I've seen this episode a few times.
This is a very 90s looking club, but this is also very low budget.
Yeah, well,
It's very fun, and but I like the aesthetic kind of.
yeah, and she loved that song, but it's really short. It's a really short song.
Who do you want?
He's doing the Steve Jobs pose.
He looks as Edward Cullen as he could possibly.
I was actually thinking the same thing.
You know what always confuses me? Vampires are room temperature, so when people touch a vampire, they would be freezing to touch, and no one ever questions it.
Oh my god, this is so grunge 90s. Oh boy.
There is no cause for alarm. Actually, there is cause for alarm. It just won't do any good.
I love that. I love that shot. Like the build up and then they bring the hard light onto his face.
Who's their lighting guy? Like, do they have a vampire up there working the lights? This is gonna look sick, Luke.
They wanted to.
It's like an elixir,
Elixir.
almost like blood.
These reactions are again. She's strong.
I'll find my way.
Was it locked?
Or is this like the early part of like an RPG where she has to get stronger and build the stat tree to
it's
be able to
just-
get the ability to break down doors?
She's as strong as the plot needs her to be.
I love that these guys are involved anyway. What is he out of breath for?
They ran a couple feet. They're not Slayers.
I thought that was Buffy.
It did look kind of like her.
The end.
Every soul brings him closer. I need another.
Oh, that sound effect too. I love it. It's so campy.
Sorry.
She's gonna get eaten.
Like I said, it takes $1,000 to do a.
Don't run in a straight line at her.
That flip was helpful. She needed that.
She went out tonight to go on this mission wearing heels.
Her wardrobe is never really
Sneakers.
what it should be for being a Slayer.
But she's been walking around with that in her sleeve this whole time.
Practical.
Let me throw her into the most comfortable thing I could throw her into. These boxes in the corner. Or in those boxes. This is a club. What kind of
Could be
club
bottles.
owner?
Bottles of vodka.
Just next to the stage?
Well,
What are
there's
these
kegs.
boxes?
There's kegs right next to it.
Yeah, but this is also.
Heads up.
That was a cool.
I just want to imagine Josh just like sitting there writing, just like. Heads up.
Jesse was an excruciating loser who couldn't get a date with anyone in the sighted community. Look at me. I'm a new man.
Master, taste of this.
Vampire Jesse's kind of fun.
Not as fun as this guy.
No, Luke is pretty fun. I am melting. It's a little high, Xander.
You don't have the gun.
Does it have to be directly in the heart?
Yeah.
Son
The moral dilemma. Is that the sun?
She said
That's the
sunrise. But no, she was messing with
It's in about 9 hours, moron.
The Master's great.
That's the one. That's the shot right there.
Yep. Angel, he pops in for a second.
He's just standing there.
She did it.
I'm really excited for you to hear my character rankings because they're gonna be very different from yours, based on someone who doesn't have the full context of everything else. And I'm really gonna grade this on face value of just this episode.
I'll factor in what you say, as I always do with guests, though.
I mean, you don't have to use anything I say. I don't care. I am not using the context of anything else other than what the characters have done in this episode. I liked this shot. That was. You know what? I like that they're all just here.
Joss likes to use long shots like that, though, too, where he doesn't cut away.
That's good. I like that.
I was thinking of a more subtle approach, you know, like excessive not studying.
Why do they make it look so ominous here?
The Earth is doomed. And that is the end of the harvest. I'm interested, Ryan, to hear what you have to say about this episode.
It definitely had those vibes of, and I don't mean this as an insult, like a B-movie horror.
Mm-hmm.
Like in a kind of a good way. It's very silly. There's a lot of really campy shots and just campy acting. And,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's very silly. There's a couple of shots I actually kind of liked just in general.
Mm-hmm. You know,
I'd say it was
going
like
into
a
the future.
fun episode, like, you know, especially for the time period in like 97.
So I would agree. I think that it's fun. If I'm putting it in a tier, I would probably put it in the forgettable episodes tier. I think that while the first episode we're calling the pilot, and I think that it gets called good because it does have to do pilot things. This one doesn't have the same luxury.
You're gonna adapt the tiers, I'm sure, as you go. Like maybe in like 3 seasons from now, you're gonna build your tier and be like, you know what, actually,
Yeah,
this
I might
episode may
move
not be
this
as
one up a little
forgettable
bit,
as I
or-
remember. Maybe I'll move this to good.
I don't know. It's tough because it is still kind of part of the pilot. I still think it's worse than Welcome to the Hellmouth. Just ignore that it's still in green tier right now because I don't actually know whether I'm going what tier I'm going with yet. You're not using context. If you were to describe this, would you be like, oh, it was a good episode of television? Would you be like, it was a bad episode of television? If that's the case,
I think it's like it has its niche. It's very silly, and if I put myself especially back in like 1997, I want to say it's like unlike anything that was out, and it's like the show, like if I were a teenager in 1997, I probably would definitely be into it. I mean, like I think it's a good episode.
Well, you know what? I'll call it good then. We'll stick with good. Move on to the characters, which I think you'll have a little bit more that you'll know because you've seen, I think, almost every one of them.
I'm only using the context of this, so I'm going to have some hot takes here that obviously are going to be exposed later on down the line.
Oh, this is the characters as
Can
it
I have
was.
my own list?
I will work something out and I'll make a graphic and I'll throw it on there if you want to put your own thing in.
Okay.
These are all the same characters except a friend we now know his name is Angel. This is based off of the first episode. I will change it around from the second one, but if you want to just go rapid fire.
So I'm doing this kind of on top of my head. Okay, so I don't know what Willow did in the first episode to get best character. But in this episode, she threw holy water on somebody and stumbled around and defended Buffy for a second. She's absolutely forgettable character. I'm not going to say she's bad. She didn't do anything bad in the episode. And I don't even think her quirkiness or anything was so over the top that my complaints when we were starting this are warranted at all. I don't think she's a bad character. I don't think she's a good character. She's just kind of a character at this point. At least at this point in this episode. I can't judge on first episode unless she might have been a fucking superhero in episode 1 for all I know to earn best characters. I feel like there's some personal bias coming on. She's definitely a forgettable character at this point. I'm willing to take these hot takes that you're not willing to take. She didn't do anything, so I'd say she's more of a forgettable character. And forgettable character, maybe on the higher spectrum of forgettable character, because she's one of her friends.
Willow has a lot more of lines. I think you would actually dislike her more in the first episode because she has a lot more lines that are just kind of like sad and they show off her shyness.
I don't
more
have any
to do
problem
in
with
the
her
first
being
episode.
shy. There's nothing wrong with her being shy or having those kinds of character traits. I'm not an asshole. I'm not Cordelia. She can be shy. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm just, I'm not even saying she's bad here. So I would say she's absolutely forgettable.
Okay, so on to Buffy.
Buffy, I think, is the best character so far. I'm not saying
characters.
that she's the deepest character or like, I don't think any character is deep at all. At least in that episode. We're only 2 episodes in though, so it's not really expected. But I think she's definitely the most memorable character so far. She's spunky. She has like, I like her. Like again, like what I liked about the episode is how campy it was, and she was very campy. Like she's very silly about the way she like is talking to the vampires and stuff, and that's treating like almost like a Spider-Man way. And I think that makes her more memorable than any of the other characters that don't have like the full character traits. I think yet. I would definitely have Rupert Giles in good characters as well, because while doesn't have a ton to do, he has enough characteristics that makes him memorable enough to not be placed in forgettable characters.
Good
He's
or
got,
great?
Like,
is he
campy? He has a campy like British accent. He's kind of the lead of exposition, and he kind of you can kind of see the future through his eyes, if that makes any sense. It's like he's like explaining stuff like, oh, there's more monsters in the future, and like kind of create some excitement for his character. So I think he would definitely still fit into that good characters.
Good or great?
For the sake of tiers, I'll put him in great because I don't know if I have a ton of great characters. Cordelia, I would say is, you know what? I'm gonna have her as, I can't believe I'm saying that. I'm gonna have her as a good character. Because just fitting within the context of the rest of the world. She fits into that. She has a full-on personality, at least in this episode. I don't know about the first episode. And I know I'm going to get a lot of hate for Willow or whatever. And it's not even hate for Willow. It's just like she doesn't have like, any notable characteristics that makes her any bit memorable to me in these 2 episodes. It's not just hate for the sake of hate.
Cordelia's still a good
I would
character.
have her as good character, lower end of good character, though.
Jesse McNally, who became a vampire in this episode.
He's absolutely a forgettable character. I don't think they handled his turn that well.
In the first episode, they play him a lot more like he's part of the group.
That's
but
some
in the second
context
episode, he's already kind of not.
That's the context I'm missing.
And Xander Harris.
That is going to be controversial. I'm going to put him as good character.
That's controversial because
it seems like didn't give the same treatment to Willow, but I do find him more memorable than her for whatever reason. I lost all credibility. I don't think he's a great character, and I have him as the lower end. I would even have him, I think, one shot lower than Cordelia. So he's like right on the cusp of forgettable characters, but I think he's like fine. I was just thinking back on the line, like what was that line? The heads up. Like it's silly, and I feel like he still has a place, and I think Willow has a place. I just don't think it's there yet. Anyway, I'm gonna stop talking about Willow.
So on to Darla, which she had a lot less in this episode.
I would put her as forgettable, just because I honestly couldn't. I actually forgot her until I just thought about it for a second. Yeah, but I would have her lower than Willow. Willow's at like the top end of forgettable. She's almost a good character. I just can't say she's like forgettable. Seems harsh because I don't know if I would say Willow's forgettable. Like if I watch this, episode for the first time, like this is the first time I have zero context. I don't know that I would think Willow is forgettable. I don't think like if I thought about the show, I'd be like, oh, I can remember her character. I probably wouldn't remember her name, but I'd be like, oh yeah, she's just kind of like the shy friend. Why am I talking about Willow again?
We're on to Angel.
Bad character. And it's funny because I like Angel. I don't want to say bad character because I don't want it to be so like
you can
harsh. Okay, I have to take the context of everything else out because I'm just gonna go all in on it. He's a bad character. Just why not? Because like he had no context of. And I know it's set up for the future, and I'm gonna put him in this bad character category, and I'm not gonna say it's at the fault of Joss and the creators. He has no place. He's just like a hot guy that pops up and he flirts with Buffy for no reason. Something is up with his character, obviously. I don't know what it is. I don't know. You don't have to reveal certain elements of his character to make him have something to do.
Principal Bob Flutie.
Like I would put him under Angel, but I don't think he's a bad character. He's just like an NPC.
Well, that's the thing. That's how I wanted to use the tiers. That's why I have forgettable and bad, because I used bad as like actively causing me to be like, I don't like that.
Keep him in forgettable, but it's just more forgettable in that like I have no opinion.
He had a really fun scene in the first episode. That was.
I'm not going to rank
humorous.
Him in forgettable. He's just there. Luke is a good character. I wouldn't say he's a great character, but he's a good character. He's, at least in my experience, it's not going to age well. But he's one of the more memorable characters in the episode.
Yeah.
Because when the show actually embraces the campiness, which it does pretty much the whole time, that's the stuff that it's going to be remembered most. So he's like a higher up. So
you really like Luke in this episode.
I'm just using the context of it.
Well,
yes, no, I liked it. I thought he was goofy and weird and stupid. Like that. One of the most memorable things for me in the whole episode was that shot where it like zoomed in with the dark and all of a sudden like the light pops up and he's just like, all this begins. I will feed for the master of masters. So it's just like, what?
Is the master lower than Luke? Is he higher than Luke?
The master is going to be above Luke. I'm going to have him as great character. He's the only other great character. Because again, he's like Luke, but on steroids. The only thing I would have liked is to have more scenes with the Master, but I know they got to build that shit up. He's goofy as hell. Like his plans make no sense. The
harvest didn't work out, but there are other ways for him to try to get out.
That's such a funny episode 2 plot line. It sounds like something that should be like the major plot of the whole season. Joy Summers is just like forgettable character. She's the lowest tier of forgettable character because she had one scene and it was just like, you can't go out. And then Buffy was like, okay, and there was no consequence for it. Maybe the consequence comes in the next episode. I would guess.
I wouldn't count on it.
Okay, then even without that context and me speaking it out, I'm going to put her as worst character.
I'll work out my list and we'll talk from there.
Mine is the most pure tier list from the perspective of someone who's never seen the show and is only judging based on this episode. I mean, I don't have the first episode, but like you have to take some of what I say into account.
I will. So here we are. I agreed with you that Buffy was going to get a bump in this episode, I think, because I think she still has more to do.
I know I've said this. If you're watching and you're upset looking at this, you have to remember this is like based on the context of 2 episodes. You can't take any context from anything in the future into account. So when you see number 11 down there, and number 12 for that matter, and you get upset that we have Luke who only appears in 2 episodes of time, you have to take into context, or take into account
consideration that we are judging what we've got. Episodes. And Angel's had like 2 or 3 scenes. Buffy's moves up to best character, which I didn't know was going to happen this early, but I think I tend to agree with you as well as, working with your thing.
She's easily like the most memorable character.
Yeah.
She has the most to do.
Rupert Giles, I also gave a bump to. He moves up into the great character tier. I think he's just really fun. He was a good character last time, but I think this time he still continues to be really fun. I have number 3, Cordelia Chase. Cordelia Chase has the fact that she was a really fun high school villain. And I think Charisma Carpenter plays that excellently too. So she moves into the number 3 slot. Also moving up, who was a forgettable character last time, Xander Harris was listed as forgettable. He had a little bit more to do in this episode than in the first one.
He was a fun, silly side character.
Yeah. He was around with Buffy a lot more in this one. Now we get on to Willow. I have no ability in my heart to move her down under good tier to this point because I don't have the same issues. I understand why you had her at forgettable because of your stuff with just this episode, but I have the first episode. There was a moment in the library where Cordelia's got to save her project. Well, they were doing a project. Willow defends Buffy, which I thought was really sweet. Especially knowing what we know about her as a shy character. She goes off, she says to Cordelia, who's this mean girl, and she defends Buffy to her, and Cordelia's like, who gave you a reason to live? Or whatever. To exist, you're right.
I was paying attention.
After that, Cordelia turns to her friend, says, oh, we're finally done with this project. How do I save it? And Willow turns over and she says, deliver. And Cordelia looks down at the keyboard, sees DEL, hits it, and deletes her project, and I thought that was kind of cool.
I think your list is fair. I think, other than the fact that I can't, the Master has to be above Xander, so Willow, and Cordelia.
The Master. Okay, so here's the thing. Also, you didn't see the first.
You said
episode.
The first episode.
He is not. He's very, very little in that episode. He gets risen. He says, "Hey, go find me something to eat, please," and that's it. He does not have much. So
yeah, that would make him forget it. That would make him forget.
He was at the lowest.
I guess it's fair.
He gets a big bump.
He did that weird spin move. He walks around like this with his janky fingernails.
He's like part Nosferatu.
He's the Grinch,
and like part the Grinch. He's like Nosferatu with the Grinch.
I was waiting for him to have like a Jim Carrey like. Somebody say the Slayer.
I put Luke directly below him at the bottom of good tier. Here's the problem that we are going to run into. This is
I feel like
Luke's
you're gonna have to have
last episode. The thing
how
is
how are you gonna justify in season 4, episode 10? Like, man, it's really gonna be between Sally, who now has been in 3 episodes, and Luke.
My cross to bear, but it will be. But the thing is that so here's
another
the
accidental pun.
What was it?
My cross to bear.
Oh, moving on to Jesse. Jesse falls at the top of forgettable because once he turns into a vampire, he has almost nothing new. He's just kind of like he becomes, I guess, cooler, and he becomes Edward Cullen from Twilight, but
for 5 minutes. His friend's reactions to his death is definitely gonna have to make him go down.
Yeah. Darla, who is really disappointing because she was kind of fun in the first episode, but in this episode, the only thing I remember...
that weird grunge rock scene where she was just like...
Yeah, her swaying walk. That's the only thing I remember from this episode, and getting holy water poured on her face. Principal Bob Flutie, again, has one scene in this episode, so he's... forgettable. He drops down even, I think, from where he was before, because not only is he forgettable, but he also, his scene that he has in this one isn't as fun. Now here's where we get to the controversy. I actually tend to agree with you that Angel, I put him in bad as well. And it's not, I don't even think it's just based off of what you say.
The only memorable quality about him is that he's hot. He's not involved. He's just there.
100% is going to go up, everyone. He's mysterious. And I like the part where she asks him, do you know what it's like to have a friend? And he just kind of looks sad because it's like, okay, there's something there. You put Joyce in the worst character tier. I put her in bad.
Just in the context of this episode, like...
You're right you're right that she didn't need to be there, but I like her moment where Basically, it's one line. I like when she's talking to Buffy and she's like, "Oh, it seems like the end of the world."
It's not even fair to debate this shit with you. You have this. I feel like you've read the fucking script of every episode. You have every little line memorized.
You quoted something that I got wrong, so you were paying more attention than I was, apparently.
The existence line. I don't know why. It just stuck with me. So I have Cordelia in the good character category. What can I say? And I think one thing I want to say is, like, having Angel in bad so far, I don't, like, totally blame, like, Joss Whedon and the creators. It's like obviously they were trying to keep him mysterious and they didn't want to do too much with him yet. So, like, it's not, like, necessarily always saying bad for the sake of, like, them doing him wrong, although I do wish they got him a little more involved if they were going to introduce him at all. So, like, he's just bad then that, like, him as a character is just kind of bad that he had nothing to do. He's had nothing to do.
But yeah, no, I feel good with this list for what we have so far. That's the characters, and this is the episodes. I've decided that I'm going to name an MVP for every episode. This person doesn't even have to appear in more than one episode. Who is the MVP for this episode on the fly?
The Master is clearly the MVP. I mean, I think Buffy carries the show, so I think it's kind of easy to say she's MVP, but I'm just going to say the Master just because...
We'll take the Master.
He's memorable. Everything he did was memorable to me. And I think like the what he made Luke do in the episode makes him also more memorable, because I would also say Luke was probably maybe a little more memorable in this episode just because he was like actually acting against the characters. The way he fucking died was so silly. Like sunlight. Oops. But the Master, because he did his fun twirls and he immediately made me think of Jim Carrey's The Grinch.
Ryan, do you have anything in the world that you want to plug? You have that time now.
My Twitter is Ryan_Havens. I'm not going to tweet about Buffy, so if you're a Buffy fan, you know, it's probably...
You did just make a couple videos for RAZZLE if you want to tell people. This is on RAZZLE. So.
Yeah, Final Fantasy VII Remake and Uncut Gems. Check those out if that's a crossover somehow. You're a fan of Buffy and those things. It is possible, very possible. Final Fantasy VII came out in 1997. Buffy came out in 1997. You might fit in that perfect age range. You know? It hits you at the same time. Buffy and Final Fantasy VII hit you at the same time.
Well, you can find me on Twitter at ALANHAVENS. You can find me making more of these videos and many other things on this YouTube channel. Stay home, stay safe, and I will catch you next week with Season 1, Episode 3, The Witch. Or, no, actually, just Witch.
The Witch. Witch, okay. Somebody say the Slayer.